Hello everyone and thank you for joining XROM podcast. I'm your host Eddie.avil, and XROM podcast was designed with a singular vision, and that is to shape, celebrate and showcase India's ARVR MR growth story and to help you understand about this transformational technology which holds potential to change the way we live, work and play. Happy to have with me Krupalu Mehta, co-founder of Parallax Lab. We had a lovely conversation where we got into the challenges that the ARVR MR startup faces here in India and various other topics. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for joining the XRM broadcast, Krupalu. Really delighted to have you today. So let me just start by this. I mean, why ARVR? And when were you inducted in? And what got you excited to get into ARVR?
So it was actually everybody of us all of us like watching sci-fi movies,
Right.
not just watching sci-fi movies, but people like us are immersed into a sci-fi movie.
Right.
You would remember when you watched Interstellar, and we had this 4 or 5 days of hangover after Interstellar.
Yeah,
You're still into the movie. So um, with sci-fi movies, I was just very amazed with time machines. And in my diploma days, where I did my diploma and then I joined my engineering.
Right.
So in my diploma days, I had thought of making a time machine experience.
Wow.
with,
We need to
with
talk about that.
that was back in 2011, and I
Right.
had not even heard of VR,
Right.
AR, these technologies. So I tried to make one with my PSP.
Right.
So just taking the PSP to the head somehow, and having some jolt experience with the
Right.
chair. Uh, but that was a fail. That
Right.
project
Right.
didn't go very well. So yeah, so since then I was interested in making immersive experiences, but I
Right.
still didn't know what VR was.
Right.
But then Oculus came in 2014. I was introduced to it.
Right. Right.
So in 2015, when I started the Somaya VR lab,
Right.
we showed about 500 people in a couple of days the Oculus DK1.
Right.
And that's where I thought, this is where I wanted to be. This is what I always wanted to build as a time machine.
Oh, lovely, lovely, super. So you started. You were one of the founders of the Somaya Virtual Lab.
Mhm.
So Parallax, you had started prior to that, or you started post setting up this AR/VR
We
lab?
started during the lab
At the
period. Yeah.
same period of time.
So the idea with the lab was to do research and development,
Right.
and understand what can be done in terms of human computer interaction, because that was my field.
Right.
I wanted to become a UX designer,
Right.
user experience designer. So
Right.
I thought one of the research fields that time which was very up was VR AR. So
Right.
we started doing research on that. Um, but we had to sustain the lab commercially somehow, and then we
Right.
started taking commercial projects. But during the lab, we thought, if these things has to go on, we have to really utilize the lab time a lot.
Right.
But the college timings were not suitable, and we couldn't have commercial projects, too many commercial projects
Right.
going on
Right.
in an education space.
Right.
So we started the company,
Right.
and then we thought that this is a this is a serious field to pursue.
Right.
And I dropped my idea of going for my masters in the US.
Right.
Actually, I was inspired by a roller coaster in the US in 2012.
Right.
I went to the Island of Adventures, and I saw Harry Potter's immersive roller coaster.
Right.
And that's where I thought, this is something, you can't. I just couldn't believe what I had seen.
Right.
So I always wanted to make something like that, immersive, crazy experiences. So although I'm not into entertainment space anymore with
Right.
VR, yeah,
Right.
but that's what inspired me, and
That's
we
what.
started Parallax while we were in the lab.
Right, right. Yeah, the potential of AR, VR is so awesome. I mean, obviously, you could teleport your audience wherever you want, right from your space to give him like a roller coaster ride or possibly make him jump from like an airplane,
Yeah.
or mountain climb, deep sea diving, use cases across maybe your enterprise where remotely one can assist. And obviously, I mean, ARVR is a great use case, not just in entertainment gaming. So people have this perception that when it comes to ARVR, entertainment is and gaming is the only space where there are use cases. So I mean, could you just elaborate on your company? What do you guys do, and what are the services that you provide?
Sure. So ever since we started, just like you said, people had this perception that VR and AR is only going to be sticking towards the entertainment area,
Right.
but we thought we should look beyond it. So
Right.
we should look beyond
Right.
gaming.
Right.
We even thought of that as a tagline.
Right.
Parallax Labs beyond gaming VR.
Yeah.
But to be honest, we thought the real ROI to begin with
Right.
was doing industry 4.0 solutions.
Right.
Using VR and AR for let's say remote maintenance.
Right. Right.
Collaborative design solutions
Right.
in,
Right.
in VR.
Right.
And things like inductions, like trainings.
Right. Right.
That's the real space where we still think where the industry is going.
Right.
And it's more important to realize that we need to bring up solutions or projects which make more ROI than just experimenting.
Right.
Because we've already spent 3-4 years in India
Right.
doing this.
Right.
So I think we have just completed our time of experimentation with VR, AR
Right.
space,
Right.
and getting more into real ROI solutions.
Completely. I guess it's about time where the all these startups should cut down in the awe, because I guess we easily get excited by these new technology and we so much in awe of it that we forget that we need to actually solve problems and find use cases which are relevant and adds value. And obviously, as if you provide a service, it brings in the ROI to your. So tell me more about the use cases. What are the industries that you've serviced, and what the use cases?
Well, I can proudly say that we are still engaged a lot with the Indian Space Research Organization.
Right.
And we have built tools for them
Right.
where they can visualize their satellite data
Right.
in VR.
Right.
Okay, and not only visualize but also do analysis collaboratively, where remotely located scientists, let's say somebody's in Bangalore,
Right.
somebody's in Hyderabad, because ISRO is a very big organization,
Right,
and they
right.
have scientists across
Right.
India,
Right.
and they can collaborate over the satellite data.
Right.
And do the analysis, find their solutions. So this is where I think uh, technology can actually make a change, because that kind of data, if visualized in 3D,
Right.
it's, let's say they want to use their Chandrayaan 1 data
Right.
to visualize in VR and
Right.
see how the Chandrayaan 2 mission is going to be
Right.
at their landing site. So
Right.
they can actually visualize Chandrayaan 2 landing site in VR. So these are the kind of use cases we
Right.
really want to do.
Right.
Apart from that, that is government. And apart from that, FMCG companies and big MNCs like Aditya Birla Group. So these are the companies where we have already given solutions.
Right. Right.
And we've been giving them solutions ever since we started. Like inductions in VR,
Right.
something like an HR induction in VR,
Right.
which is a crazy idea, but it's 10x more effective than a presentation.
Right. Right.
You
right.
get inside the company's legacy,
Right.
and you play a game around it. You find
Right.
things about the company,
Right.
and then at the end you get a score. So
Right.
gamified HR induction.
Yeah.
So it is somewhat an entertainment solution, but it really gives you that it really gives you the returns.
Completely. So I guess this gamifying business, it makes it more user friendly for the audience, the consumer, whoever is consuming that content. And like, for example, there are a lot of these startups who are gamifying education. Because that's the best way to learn. Otherwise, this rote learning is, come on, how long we gonna keep on pursuing that? So you also was adjudged amongst the top Indian innovators in the global aerospace by Ministry of Defense recently, right?
So
Tell us something more about that.
So basically, our focus since the last year, end of last year, was to go into the defense space,
Right, right.
especially give healthcare solutions in the defense space.
Right.
So we are working with the Indian Navy
Right.
for solution which is like a complete XR simulation lab,
Right.
not a lab but a center,
Right.
where early paramedics can come in
Right.
and experience emergency scenarios and
Right.
give first treatment, first
Right.
emergency response
Right.
right away in VR
Right.
using multiple technologies. So we are using VR,
Mm.
okay, to give algorithm based training where they need to focus on the algorithm on which they'll adopt when they face such a scenario.
Right.
The second is mixed reality,
Right.
where basically they are put into a place where they have to be in VR but have to work on a mannequin.
Right.
Okay, and the third one,
Holograph.
it's not holograph. It's still using VR, but we're using pass through cameras.
Right. Right.
So, and the third one is a shared VR experience,
Right.
where you have a full 360 screen, and where you get in and we are in the era of VR headsets, but
Right.
if you really experience that, it's super immersive. When you want to have a shared experience. Yeah. So that's where we induct the paramedics, and we actually tell them how the scenario is going to be, and that's where they also can do their operations in that space, like 10-12 paramedics inside that space. So
Right.
it's a full center where after going through each and every session we have a debriefing, and they get into a debriefing where we store every data. So every
Right.
minute inside that emergency scenario, we capture that and give them a full report
Right.
of how they've performed.
Nice.
So this is one of the solutions, and the other one we did was with a company in Mumbai for one of the biggest airports in Southeast Asia, giving walk around inspection,
Right.
and that
Right.
was back in 2017.
Oh wow.
Walk around inspection for the aircraft before
Right.
it comes in, after it as in when it's ready to fly, with a full report,
Right.
and the ISRO things. So with all these solutions, Ministry of Defense identified as one of the few people who are making the change in this area.
Super, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And wish you guys more success on that. So tell me, I mean, with you said you got solutions for AR, VR, MR. Now you also mentioned algorithms. So are you looking at converging machine learning and AI or these other technologies to build forward your products? Is that something that you guys are doing?
Yes. Because VR will change the complete training space.
Right, right.
Whatever training is happening, physical or
Right.
virtual, VR has the potential to change that.
Right.
And while we are doing the training, it generates a lot of data.
Right. Right.
So what do we do with the data?
Exactly.
So probably we predict the person's performance even before the training starts,
Right.
based on the previous data. So we can definitely use ML. We can definitely use AI with with the data that's been produced with VR.
Right.
Okay, and at the same time, people are already doing AR visualizations with AI working in the back. Like let's say you point at a flower,
Right.
and you have the full information about the flower, not just the information, but fancy animations and some artwork going around the flower,
Right.
in real time, while the phone recognizes what flower it is.
Right.
So at the back, it uses its own image recognition technology using
Right.
AI and ML, and at the front there it's using AR to visualize it.
Right.
So AR is always going to be a great data visualization technology. That's what I believe.
Yeah, completely. I think AR is going to be the first pod which is going to kick drive the conversation forward for XR.
Yeah. In fact, many years ago when we were in the lab,
Right.
one of the projects in the MIT Media Lab, which really, was interesting, was the fluid interfaces as a group.
Right.
They built AR as a visualization tool for IoT.
Right.
Let's say you want to control the room's lights.
Right.
You don't have You don't need to have the switchboards.
Right.
You just need to interact with with the lights directly. Like you just imagine you're wearing the HoloLens and you point at the light and just start clicking on the light to turn it off, on, or let's say dim it.
Right.
You just look at the light and do it.
Wow.
And basically that acts as an interface for the IoT that's working at the back.
Right.
So that really completes the full industry 4.0 or home automation 4.0
Right.
circle.
Collective experience. I think that's going to be like a big play for VR to go forward, because at this point in time, it being an isolating experience, VR is still that medium which is still lagging behind. So a collective experience which you guys have been doing. Could you share more details on?
Yeah, sure. I believe collaboration is the only way forward.
Right.
Because so this shared VR experience is not something that we are doing.
Right,
Okay,
right.
it's something that we're getting in from a company called Igloo Vision.
Right.
It's a UK based company, and
Right.
happy to
Right.
say their name.
Right.
So it's a absolutely interesting, absolutely immersive tech that they have developed, because not only a fully 360 dome, but
Right.
it's also a fully interactive 360 dome where you get in and you interact with, let's say you have your Unity scene developed. So
Right.
you get your Unity scene inside the dome,
Right.
and you start interacting with it,
Yeah.
and it's all active 3D.
Right.
So you also get that stereoscopic.
So what's the size of the dome that you're mentioning about?
They have various sizes. Like they have a size of 6 meters, 9 meters, to even I think 21 meters, which fits about 750 people.
Wow. Interesting.
So
Interesting.
they've done concerts, I think,
Right.
and I'll put you in touch with him.
Lovely.
And so we're excited, but we have not inked any formal deals as of
Right,
now.
right.
But we're really interested to get their technology on board.
Lovely.
For various defense solutions, healthcare
Right,
solutions.
right.
So shared VR is one thing that I really found to be interesting.
So tell me about your team strength. And are you guys funded at this point in time, or you guys are bootstrapped?
No, we are bootstrapped, and so ever since we started, we always wanted to be bootstrapped. Although we've been approached a lot of times,
Right, right. Yeah.
to get acquired or get funded, but I believe that we are still in a stage where we want to
Have your freedom.
Yeah, have the freedom.
Yeah, rather than
Because
somebody
it's still
overpowering.
volatile.
Right.
The industry is still volatile. It might go somewhere. You
Right,
still
right.
don't know.
Right.
So we want to have the freedom, and we have a strength of 16 people.
Right.
All of us are located in Mumbai.
Right. Right.
And the good news is that we are also starting an office in the UK,
Right.
having a couple of people there.
Right.
So that will be our first international venture, and we've been trying to do that since a year now.
Lovely.
But we're still in the process.
Lovely. So congratulations on the new move, the UK office. That's nice. That's going to be like a big thing. Yeah, I hope you guys get more jobs from that side and more collaboration. So I was on your website and I saw that you guys are doing something called Nirvana VR.
Oh yes.
Right. Then there is Stage VR, Solar Assistance.
Yeah.
So could you share more details on these?
Yeah, so these are the interesting
maybe we could take
stuff.
one. We could start with Nirvana VR.
Yeah, so basically, as I said, after we moved out of the lab,
Right.
okay, we never wanted to stop the lab,
Right.
or we never wanted to stop the research.
Right,
So Nirvana VR is one of the research projects we did.
Right.
Starting from one thing you might have not noticed is the first one was done with the IIT Bombay IDC department.
Right.
We did a project where we researched on collaborative mixed reality design.
Right.
So how we design a collaborative mixed reality experience.
Right.
So that's where we did our research. It was a year-long project. It was a wonderful project done by the design students. Coming to Nirvana VR, Nirvana was a project that was developed by 4 engineers, and these guys they used Muse headband to get in the EEG signals, and the more you meditate, or the way you meditate, in the same way the environment in VR changes. So it basically helps you meditate and concentrate in VR. So basically, let's say you're looking at a couple of candles, like,
Right.
or let's say like 5 candles in front
Right.
of you, and you focus on a couple of them, and
Right.
then they start levitating. So that input is given through your brain waves. So that's a research project that we did, to realize how EEG signals can be used as an input for VR.
Right. Amazing. I mean, this sounds really cool. So this electroencephalography machine,
Yes.
which is hooked onto your head, is then connected to your PC.
It's not it's a mobile experience.
It
Yeah.
okay.
So the good thing again is that we're using Muse's technology. So
Right.
Muse gives these APIs where you can
Right.
just get in the EEG signals
Right.
and get to know which wave is dominant.
Right.
Let's say the dominant wave is alpha, so
Right.
you're more into the meditation space.
Right.
And the beta wave is dominant when we are talking, like when we are talking
Right.
more
Right.
and we are thinking constructively.
Right.
That's where the beta wave is dominant, and realizing which wave and which data is more dominant, we start altering the VR environment. Like people have made games with EEG signals. Like
Right.
you focus on a car and the car moves, and you have to really like dodge the
Right.
obstructions in between. So these are like the solutions people have tried.
Yeah, lovely. It's
with
very
EEG.
interesting. I mean, it's definitely there. I think there's this company called Neuro Labs, or maybe I'm just getting the name wrong. So they have built this VR headset which has got an EEG device hooked onto it.
Yeah.
And then you can play your game. You don't need a joystick.
Yeah.
You can play your games via your thought.
Exactly.
So
This idea had come to us basically. Again, MIT Media Lab.
Right.
The inspirational project. They were again using Muse, and they're using Leap Motion with that.
Right.
And they had done it on Oculus GK too.
Wow.
That's back in, I think, 2014 or 2013.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting.
They're so early.
They're so early.
So it's exciting to know what these guys must be doing right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we need to catch these kind of people. We need these crazy people.
Yeah.
So nice. I mean, very good. So you want to jump on to what you spoke about, which I kind of missed out, which is your mixed reality collaboration that you're talking about.
So we even thought of floating a product on it.
Right.
But we're still working on it. The good thing is that we didn't use any pre-built services, or we didn't use any Microsoft services to build that. We were using our own I would say APIs. We built
Right.
our own APIs. We took a lot of time
Right.
to build it, and it's basically focused on the architectural collaboration.
Right,
So
right.
the AEC industry
Right.
and collaboration, coordination,
Right.
things like these were highlighted
Right.
with the tools that were built. So basically, we were having tools like cross-sectional view.
Right.
Like you could add in elements, you could remove elements, you can resize the objects, everything in collaboration but in mixed reality.
Beautiful.
So the whole thing was developed on the HoloLens, and we had like a couple of HoloLens and people living in different places across the globe. Like let's say you are in the US and I'm
Right.
here,
Right.
and we both collaborate over a single construction project.
Right.
And I see your avatar and
Right.
you see mine.
Lovely.
And things like that. So that was the idea with that.
Interesting. Did you kind of like take it to any of the AEC folks? I mean, did anybody get, or this is something which you are just experimenting on?
Yeah, so whatever research projects we do,
Right.
we usually don't take it to anybody
Right.
until it matures enough.
Completely matures. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
So we just recently,
Right.
last week, we talked to one of the biggest automotive companies in India,
Right.
not in India, sorry, in the world,
Right.
to take the solution, take it
Right.
ahead.
Right.
But we're still in talks. So
Right. So tell me more about the other two, which I'm sure, did I miss out more? There's Stage VR and Solar Assistant.
Yeah,
Is
so,
there anything else that you're doing besides that?
So Solar Assistant is very interesting.
Right.
We're using AR to build a tool
Right.
which is basically to help the people who install solar panels
Right.
to do it in real time. So usually this process takes about 10 to 15 days when you want to install a solar panel at your rooftop.
Right.
But this tool will allow you to complete the process in real time.
Right.
So in no time, basically.
Right.
So there is some news coming with it. Probably in the next couple of months, we'll announce it.
Right.
We're thinking of a product around this research project.
Stage VR.
Yeah. So Stage VR is again a research project we did. It's basically exposing people to a lot of people.
Right.
Just to treat claustrophobia, basically fear of
Right.
speaking in public.
Right.
So you stand in front of, let's say you select like 5 people, 10 people, or maybe even 1,000 people. You want to address, and you just start speaking. But we're not only exposing people to the audience, but we are also analyzing how you speak in front of the people. So you get a overall score at the end of the experience. So we capture things like the fluency, the pauses you take in between while you speak, how well you match your content with the reference content that you have recorded, and also the eye contact with the people. So all of this is only possible in VR. That's what we think. Like if you want to speak in public, you practice it and let's say I wanted to practice this studio setting. I would just have it in VR and practice it, because otherwise it's not. I mean, it wouldn't make sense just to expose a person to a VR environment, but also to capture data that is produced while the person is inside the VR environment. Again, using ML there is a fabulous scope.
Oh, lovely. So this stage VR thing that you're talking about, is it something which is available on a Go or a Quest
No,
or a Rift?
no. So none of our projects are publicly available.
Oh, so these are on
these are, yeah, because again we have to polish them enough to put it up as a product. But as a company's objective, or let's say vision, we would want to move into product space, but not very soon, until we realize that the time is right.
Completely.
Because I think still the time for making a full VR product, unless I make a very catchy game like Beat Saber and play it on Oculus Quest. Like I spent a couple of hours the day before yesterday after I just got my Quest. So it's I think for India it's not the right time to have a product in VR.
You also offer training and services to enterprise and institutes.
So we do corporate trainings, where we think people. So a lot of areas where people don't want to outsource their VR, AR, because everybody knows that somehow in the future it's not going to be a technology. It's going to be the way we interact with technology. So everything is going to be 3D. So people just want to sow their seeds from today and want to have their own VR departments and not outsource the work. So that's where we want to help people create their own departments, help them get head started with VR and AR with these kind of trainings. So we go there and let's say we give the training for 5-6 days and they're ready. We introduce them to almost every possible kind of headset that's available, and what platforms they can use, how do they produce the content, and let's say Unreal or Unity, how do they program. So also the do's and don'ts of VR, AR. So we try to do it for them, because we know that they are going to make up a lot of actual use cases in the future. So companies in the aerospace, companies in defense, like let's say Lockheed Martin, these people, they already have their departments. So we help them. We would like to help them to start in their own VR, AR department. How's your entrepreneurial journey been so far? Where from the time you started in AR, VR, would you have done anything else, or this is, to be honest, I would not say it's been a roller coaster journey. It's been pretty smooth, because I realized that I always wanted to do this, and somehow the kind of solutions we are giving it's it they they satisfy us to a large extent,
Right. Right.
because we want people to use our solutions and
Right.
give us the feedback,
Right.
and that's so much good for the technology.
Right.
Like if that's not happening, and how do you realize that whether this is going to work or not?
Right.
Like, let's say you build something, let's say you build a car modifier in VR or AR,
Right. Right.
and you give it as a solution to, let's say, BMW or Audi.
Right.
So these guys, if they don't use it internally or even with their customers, you don't realize that. So with our solutions, that has always happened, and we've got a tremendously nice feedback from our customers. So you know but I would say it's not easy.
Right.
It's smooth, but it's not easy. Like, we didn't have much of big obstructions in our journey,
Right.
because at the right time we've got the right support. um, and like, when we started, we started with a company that was into giving out computers to government and education institutes.
Right.
And we thought them in the place of an investor.
Right.
So, but then they were not at all supportive, and it was like a small garage where we started, and we didn't even have a full VR headset, and this is a story in 2016.
Oh.
So early 2016.
Yeah.
So we rented out graphic cards, and it was a very tough time, and like, we were convincing him to get the STC Vive in early 2016, and
Yeah.
because we knew that this is going to make the real change.
Right. Right.
But then they refused, and we had a fight, and it wasn't a very sweet ending with them. So after that, we thought that having an investor or somebody with us who dictates how really, because it's like a combination of creative and technology space.
Right.
So I always prefer to be in the freedoms, this thing. So then we moved out and we started the lab on our own. uh, so since then, things have like really nice, and hope it goes as it has been till now.
So, what would be your advice to these budding startups or ARVR content creators? I mean,
Okay, for the content creators, I think
developers, content creators,
yeah,
startups.
if we come together
Right.
as a developer community,
Right.
we can really, really change the VRAR scene for India.
With you on it completely.
So
Please.
the idea is,
Yeah.
like I also shared during the immersion festival.
Right.
I said, if we really come together and put our concerns to these companies, Facebook and Microsoft, that we really need to have easy access to the devices.
Right.
So for that, there should be a message that goes out from India that yes, we are serious developers,
Right.
and we can give out really nice solutions.
Right.
Because if that doesn't happen, nobody is going to take us seriously.
Right.
Because I know that's the problem with them, that they think that probably some strategic
Right.
realization for them.
Right.
But the developer community really has to be there.
Right.
And if it's not there, how do we thrive as the budding entrepreneurs
Right.
or content creators?
Right.
So yes, coming together, creating nice solutions, breakthrough solutions. Like, I would love to share what we are doing with the Indian Navy's content.
Right.
Like, not AAA, but we are actually trying to get
Right.
that level,
Right.
like AAA game level,
Right.
in terms of graphics
Right.
for that solutions. Because I believe even if we give the smallest solution, it has to be of your best quality.
Right.
And the idea for India has always been that India is the only country that can give cost cheaper than China
Right.
in terms of content development,
Right.
and quality at par with the US.
Right.
Uh, so that's what we offer to the international community, the international industry,
Right.
may it be automotive or healthcare or any industry.
Right.
So we really want to have our focus there. India can be the content creation hub for the world,
Right.
like it is for software development. So that is, as a company, our vision, our mission. So that will always be, because if the community is developed,
Right.
we can move mountains.
Right, completely. So I'm completely on you with that. And I hope that there's people from Facebook, HTC, Samsung, Microsoft, anybody listening in. Uh, I mean, come on. We are 1.3 billion people. We've got the largest youth population in the world. Uh, the technology is growing over here. We're doing some amazing things. And I hope you guys look over here and understand and no longer ignore India, because I don't think you guys can ignore us for long. So, yeah.
You can glorify or vilify us, but the
Yeah.
only thing you can't do is ignore
Yeah,
us.
there's
It
no
comes from up.
chance you can ignore 1.3 billion people and it's growing. So, yeah. So, what do you think about? I mean, what according to you is the future where AR VR is going, and what do you think it's going to be its disruptions, and which industry needs to really pull up their socks and
I think
address?
I think one area where it is really going to change is solutions that are affected with mixed reality.
Right.
That is manufacturing.
Right.
So that's where we're really focused on Industry 4.0,
Right.
where mixed reality plays a role in terms of remote assistance,
Right.
guided maintenance, and solutions like layout design.
Right.
So Microsoft has Microsoft has spot on for that.
Right.
It's it has done it so smartly that in 2016 they came up with this HoloLens, and then now after 3 years it visualizes every possible use case.
Right.
And now it offers it as a license with Microsoft Dynamics 365.
Right.
So you have the HoloLens 2,
Right.
which is a really really good device,
Right.
and probably that is going to be the disruption,
Right.
unless and until you have Apple coming up with its own
Right.
device
Right.
in 2021 or 2022.
Yeah,
So that's where things will change,
Right.
and it really becomes commercial when these solutions start picking up. Apart from that, I feel healthcare is another sector where it's
Right.
going to make a major change,
Right.
like medical training.
Right.
It's going to be a super interesting area,
Right.
and we are very happy to get support from people. Let's say I would like to name out Professor Bob Stone.
Right. Right.
He I really like him.
Yeah,
It's we had some questions regarding the mixed reality solution we're developing for the defense. So um, it's very interesting to get the support from them.
Right.
And if the international community is growing this way, we should have our own content creation community in India,
Right.
which actually helps other countries. So it's a give and take.
Completely. And I guess we going towards there only. That's the direction that we are heading. So the last question of the day. What's your vision? I mean, for Parallax, and what's your personal moonshot and your
Okay.
vision for Parallax?
My personal moonshot. I'm not sure if I know that, or I've realized it till now, but I think we should move out from the dependency.
Right.
Okay. I also would like to again highlight Indian hardware developers.
Right.
Okay. To develop devices.
Right.
Make devices where we're not dependent on international companies.
Expensive.
Yeah. Expense is still fine, like
Right.
but still I'm not saying that
Right.
we should have our own tech and all that, but that should happen
Right.
over the course of the time. So once that happens, I
Right.
think um, areas like defense, healthcare, and manufacturing will really change.
Right.
So vision for Parallax would be to obviously be a pioneer in
Right.
providing
Right.
solutions.
Right.
Um, and for me, it's going to be it's going to be always creating immersive experiences along the lines of changing people's lives.
Right.
So it always is like, putting a dent in the universe, as
Right.
Steve Jobs said.
Right.
You know, with your uh, full heart, and you get inside the technology space with all of that you have, and you give it back to the community, and uh, and actually make a change. So it's just to put it in a sentence, it's to bring about a change in in the space of human computer interaction.
Superb. Like, what a note to end on, to bring about change in human computer interaction. I guess that's the future. Thank you for being with us and sharing
Most
your
welcome.
insight. And I'm sure our audience has taken a lot from this podcast. We will have all your details below.
Thank you.
Uh, you're on Twitter, you're on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm
How
not
does
that
the
active on
audience?
Twitter, but
Right.
I'm active on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. So
Superb. So we will have all the details below. Thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure having you guys, having Krupalu part of this podcast, and see you guys next time.
yeah,
Cheerio.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.